Right now, we've got the guest of honor, John Eldredge. Hey, John, good to see you, buddy.
Hey, guys. Yeah,
You doing well?
Yep, good to be here.
Well, hey, man, listen, we are so excited to have you today. We've been looking forward to this for a long, long time. And a lot of these guys, the majority of them, I think, have read the vast majority of your books. And when I told them that we landed John Eldredge, we knew it was going to be a sellout. So way to go, John. We thank you for being here.
Oh, I'm honored. Thank you. Looking forward to it. Yeah.
Well, you certainly don't need an introduction. Just to say John Eldredge is introduction enough. But I know you're married, Stacy, got 3 sons, living out there in Colorado, living the dream. And we're excited to hear from you today. So fill in the gaps a little bit. Tell us what you've been up to. And then I want to get to talking about get your life back.
Yeah, thank you. Well, again, yeah, it's a real joy to be with you guys. Love to do this where I can see your faces. So thanks for inviting me into your circle. Short term, I've been doing exactly what you all have been doing. I've been stuck at home, and really ready to be done with that. But we've also been super busy. We launched a book. Obviously, we're going to talk a little bit about that in the spring, but we've also been doing a lot of online discipleship, and been a Christian therapist for 30 years. And so I've seen the inside of a lot of guys and their world, and love helping people, but men in particular, love helping them in their journey. So have a place here called Ransomed Heart, staff of 19 people, and we put on events around the world, make films, do podcasts, that kind of thing.
Well, John, I'll be the first to say, buddy, you've sure touched a lot of lives, I know, including mine. And I would read all the books off that you've written, but we don't have but an hour, so I won't be able to read quite that many. But one in particular that we're really fascinated by is Get Your Life Back. And I think I read that book a week after it came out. A friend of mine told me about it, and really, really enjoyed it. Tell us a little bit about why you even wrote this book, and kind of explain to the guys what we've kind of lost our lives to.
Yeah, so it's a crazy story because the book, if you pick it up now, you feel like I wrote it during the pandemic, or that I wrote it for the pandemic. And I think God did. I think Jesus knew what his people needed, but I wrote it prior to. So it's almost like we have to talk sort of pre-Pearl Harbor and post-Pearl Harbor in terms of the significance of what it means. So prior to the pandemic, we all found ourselves caught up in what I would describe as a perfect storm of insane pace of life, running and gunning, so much going on, the complexity of the world that we have to navigate, and then way too plugged in online, way too much time on technology, and the way that actually fries your brain, rewires your brain, it shortens your attention span. And then and then the overall effect of living in a global community where the tragedy, the news, the information of the entire planet is something that we're expected to know and care about, be up on. And all of that, the collective effect of that is there's no room left for our soul. There was no room left for our humanity. And I actually didn't intend, Aaron, to write this book. It was a personal journey that I needed to take. I just found myself fried at the end of a day. I get home from work, just completely spun up with crises, chaos, great stuff, mission, purpose, people, meetings, but my soul was not well. And I wanted to get out of the madness without quitting my job. And so I just began to adopt some very simple practices, things that I could fit into a busy life that would begin to get me out of the madness and heal my soul so that I could be just more full of life. And I did, and it worked. And then I thought, okay, I need to share this. I need to share this with my readers. And so the book comes out in February, and the pandemic hits, or at least in the West, right? And the economic fallout and all of that.
John, did something happen personally where you woke up, or did somebody wake you up and say, hey, you need to get a grip, you need to build some boundaries? I know as successful as you are, you've got a lot going on. Will you take us back there a little bit and share with us intimately what kind of woke you up?
Yeah, there were there were a couple moments that really got my attention. And one was, we have little grandchildren now. We've raised 3 sons. They've married fabulous women, and they're starting families of their own. So we have a couple 3-year-olds and a 1-year-old. And what happened, Aaron, was I found that I could only play with my grandchildren for about 5 minutes before I wanted to check my phone again and like check my text, check my email, plug back into my world, stay on top of things, right? Like, I thought, gadzooks, John, like I can't maintain a sense of attention and focus to my grandchildren for more than a few minutes. Like, wow, that is really messed up. What has the world done to me? What have I bought into? What am I caught up in? So that was one. And then another was I found my capacity for enjoying things was really diminishing. You know, we'd be having a wonderful dinner out on the deck, or I'd be on a mountain bike ride, and my capacity for relishing in it and just really drinking it in was diminishing. And I didn't like these symptoms. I'm like, wow, this is a soul that has been pretty hard pressed. And I know I'm not alone, because I work with a lot of people, and everybody was saying pretty much the same thing. Different symptoms, different types of things, pretty much the same.
And what boundaries did you build that helped you with that?
Well, so it began in a number of very simple ways. So this little baby right here, this thing now has our lives. And I realized there were some things I could do. Turn off notifications. I don't need to know when the new snowstorm's coming in Colorado. I don't need every possible notification from all my apps. But one of the big steps I took, Aaron, was I stopped looking at my phone first thing in the morning. Like we all do it. It's the knee-jerk reaction. You get up, you look at your phone. You know, what's happening in the world, check the news, check your feed, check your texts, look at your email. And I stopped doing that. I leave my phone face down on the counter in the morning. I don't take it into my bedroom at night, which is really big, because about 70% of Americans do. They sleep with their phone right there. And so leave it on the counter in the kitchen. When I come out in the morning, I don't look at it. I make a cup of tea. I look out the window, enjoy the morning, say some prayers. And just what I'm doing is I'm letting myself be a human being in the morning and not instantly a producing machine. And then some other really simple stuff. The first chapter in the book is called The 1 Minute Pause. And I realize I never pause in my day. I go from phone call to phone call, email to email, meeting to phone call to, and I'm just boom, 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 boom. And I would stop when I got home for a few minutes, maybe. And so Jesus just began to invite me into, John, you need to learn to pause in your day and let your soul catch up with you. So, when I hang up one phone call before I make another, I just pause. I just let myself be a human being. Take a drink of water, walk around the building, walk outside. And then especially practicing kind of what I call the 1-minute pause several times in my day. Just take 60 seconds and I give it all back to God. And this is really, really huge. It's an enormous brain reset to just, I pause and I say, give you that meeting, give you my kids, give you the world, give you the news I just heard, the new body count, the whole thing. I give it all to you. I just pause 60 seconds. And it's amazing what learning to pause in my day, because it began to open up breathing room. And now one of my favorite times now is I pull in the driveway at the end of the day, turn off the engine in my truck, but I don't get out. I just sit there in my truck and I begin to let the day go. And sometimes I'll lay my head down on my steering wheel and I just let my soul breathe. And part of what I'm doing is I'm also allowing myself to transition from a world of, productivity and get it done. And I love that stuff.
Sure.
But I'm allowing a transition between that world and my home life, and be able to walk in the door and pay attention to my wife, be attentive to her. If the kids are over, if the grandkids are there, to be able to play with them and not be distracted, to be present to people. So those are a few practices that have begun to make an enormous difference for me.
I like in the book, you said that God never really intended for our souls to live at the pace that we're forcing it to live. And then you said God had an original design for our souls and our life. What do you think that looked like?
Well, we got a few mind-blowing facts here. Guys, you understand that the average pace of human life for thousands of years was 3 miles an hour, because everybody walked. We didn't have the speed. We didn't have the acceleration of technology. We weren't able to get so much stuff done. And so there was a rhythm to life. You read in the Gospels, these stories, Jesus has a dramatic intervention, or he raises somebody from the dead, or he has this profound teaching to thousands of people. And then the next story takes place somewhere else. So he's in Jerusalem and suddenly he's back up in Capernaum, or he's by the Sea of Galilee. And what we don't realize is he spent 3 days just walking to get there. There was downtime. There was breathing room between these big episodes. We just project our pace of life into the Gospels, but that's not how they lived. And so there's rhythm, and there's Sabbath, and there's breathing room. But something else I would add, Aaron, is there was a British anthropologist, I'm trying to remember, Robin Dunbar. He's got a very famous thing called Dunbar's number. I'm not sure if you're aware of it. He looked at the size of the cerebral cortex of human beings, and he looked at the size of typical village life for thousands of years on the planet. And basically what he deduced is that we are made to live in a community, a series of information network, that kind of thing, of about 150 people. And so your soul was never designed to even know about the heartache, the tragedy, the drama of the entire planet. But we just expect this. This is a normal human life now. Like, of course you know what's going on in China. Of course you know what's taking place in Brazil right now. Of course you know about the economic collapse in El Salvador. Of course you know that. Like, we just assume this, but that actually is crushing to the human soul. And it's taking away our humanity. It's taking away our breathing room and our ability to enjoy the things in life that give us life and restore us and renew us. So part of my step away has also been, and this is a big piece for the pandemic. Everybody's been glued to the news, right? But the fact is, you actually don't need to know what's happening in Italy. You really don't. You don't need to know the body count in Paris. You don't. We were never designed to take in this much information. We're really suffering a massive amount of empathy fatigue. And so learning to give that over, learning to give that up. My news intake now is about 5 minutes a day. Get in, get the basics, find out what's going on, sure. But I don't live there anymore. And that's part of God's design for us, is not to be exposed to, because get this, here's another mind blower. So when 9/11 happened, they did some psychological research afterwards, and they discovered that people who watched the Twin Towers go down on television experienced the same PTSD as people who were there in New York. Like, the human brain does not know how to differentiate those things. And so what we've discovered is that exposure to traumatic news traumatizes the soul. And we just expect, people to take this stuff, it's just body slam every day, just boom, here's more, boom. And so that wasn't God's design. We were never meant, only God is omniscient, only he is omnipresent. And it's this new thing, again, this little baby, but also the laptop and the tablets and the internet and all that. Like, we're trying to be omniscient and omnipresent. And that's not the design for human beings.
John, we share a mutual friend, Dan Miller, and Dan Miller and I was in a mastermind group for a couple of decades together. And 20 years ago, he challenged me to turn the news off, and reluctantly I did so. And I don't think I've missed much, right, in 20 years.
Wow.
Yeah, from not
What a
watching the
gift.
news.
What a gift to your soul.
Yeah. He said also, take all electronics out of the bedroom. And we did 20 years ago. No TV, no phone, no tablets, no work. That's our sanctuary. That's our place. And so, John, a lot of these guys, I know because I'm with them every day, they're thinking, well, yeah, you've got a big team. You can get other people to do these things. There's a lot of things vying for your time. You've got dozens of books, speaking engagements, all kinds of posts and things going on, social media. Do you just say enough's enough? Do you just say, I'm only going to do what I can do and I'm good with that? How do you manage those things? Because I know a lot of people on this call are thinking, man, how does a guy with dozens of books out there manage this level of notoriety and fame just individually?
Yeah. Yep. My publisher sends me weekly and monthly publishing reports. I never read them. I don't need that roller coaster ride. There's a lot of projects that I could be more deeply involved in, but I don't, because of what it would cost me. Yeah, Aaron, you're describing, like, I'm thinking of the answer to your question. I make a series of choices every single day that I am not able to give my best to everything. I'm just not. And there's a lot of people I disappoint. There are people whose email goes unanswered. I simply don't answer them. There's people whose email I answer a couple weeks later. People text me, and they think you're going to text them right back, because that's the global expectation now. It's instant access to you. But I teach people, you can text me, but I may not answer for a day. It's hard. These are hard choices, because I love giving 100% to everything. I really do. And but I just realized I can't keep that life up. I can't sustain that. And so I live with a lot of personal disappointment that I'm not more involved in things than I'm able to be. And I disappoint a lot of people, because there's only so much of me to go around. There's only so much of you to go around, right?
Absolutely.
And everybody wants a piece of it.
I think you gave a good lesson there. We kind of train people. Like call earlier today, one of the guys said, doesn't matter if it's 10 o'clock at night, I feel obligated to answer right back. And he answers immediately. He thinks it's good customer service that he answers just immediately. But what I hear you saying is to kind of build this life and teach the people how you'll respond and when you'll respond.
We teach people how to treat us. And if you give them unlimited access to you, they'll take it. And
Yeah.
then when you don't, then they're mad. But if they've come to be educated that you'll get back to them, but not instantaneously,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
then their expectations, they're not mad at you when they don't hear from you for a few hours.
In the book, John, you talk a little bit about benevolent detachment and why that's really so necessary. Tell us what you mean by that.
This is huge because this is bringing together a bunch of the research I was talking about. So you've got the 9/11 research and how too much news fries the soul, traumatizes the soul, and then you've got the fact that we spend about 10 hours a day on our smartphones, anywhere from 7 to 10 hours a day, 3 hours a day using apps. You've got the research showing that the internet itself is restructuring the brain, human brain now. Nicholas Carr almost won the Pulitzer Prize for that in his book, The Shallows. And I looked at all that and I felt it. I felt it in me, and realized that I have got to learn to release things. It is the art of release, daily release. One of the pandemics of our era is a lot of sleep disorders. There's a lot of people really struggle with their sleep and their sleep patterns, and they're not able to get into that deep restorative REM sleep. And it's because of this. It's because of your screen time, because you took your technology into your bedroom, because you watch too much news. It's all that. And so benevolent detachment, I put those two words together because it is an act of release. It is an act of pulling away. It is an act of detaching, but it is something that's done in kindness. It's not cynicism. It's not resignation. I'm not doing something in anger. This is kindness. I need to let it go. And this began for me at that moment I talked about in my driveway at the end of the day. And sometimes that's 5 p.m. and sometimes that's 9 p.m. And I've pulled in the driveway and I've turned off my engine and I got to start releasing it. I released that email I shouldn't have sent. I'm already regretting writing what I did. I released that meeting that really got me fried. I released that person and their need, the massive need. I released the news. I can't carry the fires in Australia. I can't carry the earthquake in Turkey. I can't carry that stuff. And the human soul was never designed to, Aaron. That's the thing. So you've got passages like 1 Peter 5, cast all your cares upon the Lord because he cares for you. And I hear it and it sounds absolutely beautiful, but for years I didn't know how to do it until I learned benevolent detachment. Like, I give this over to you. I cannot carry this. I wasn't meant to carry this. And Stacy and I now do it. We do it at bedtime. We give you our kids, Lord, we give you the world, we give you our work. We just give it all back over. And the effect of it, oh my gosh, the almost instant relief. You can just feel your soul coming out from under the pressure and the weight of it. And then you can breathe again. And the thing is, like, then you can think more clearly, right? And you can make better decisions and you can love people better. Like, this actually is a step towards like generosity and wholeheartedness. It's not a withdrawal, but it is learning the art of release.
I love what you said, John, about you do this daily. A lot of people think, well, I can do this thing one time and I'm good to go. But you and Stacy practice this in the evenings. You practice this when you get home in the truck. You just pause. So it's not a one and done, right? This is something that we've got to embrace on a daily basis.
Yeah. Yeah. Here's another fun story. So we knew everybody was living on their phone. And we wanted to help them practice just this one thing, the 1 minute pause, learning to pause and learning to release it, learning to pause and benevolent detachment. So we built an app, and we built it before the pandemic. We had no idea that all this was about to hit the world. We tested the app in the winter. We released it in January. And we're getting 1,000 downloads a day on this very simple app. It's free. It's called the 1 Minute Pause. Because what it's doing is it's helping people pause for a moment, take their attention back from the world. Like, you can't have my attention for a moment. And then practicing release and practicing being restored and renewed by the presence of God in our lives. And there's a 1 minute, a 3 minute, a 5 minute, and a 10-minute pause built into the app. And you can set it to like 10 and 2 every day. I want to just stop and just practice this pause. Honestly, between you and me, I didn't think anybody'd do it. You know, we're all so spun up and distracted and moving, but something like 90,000 people have downloaded this free app, and they're using it multiple times a day. And we're getting all this feedback of that one simple practice is rescuing folks.
John, in the book, you also talk a lot about pursuing the real versus the digital. Is there a particular exercise that you suggest for this, and how can we do that?
Well, first, let me describe something really fascinating that I don't mention in the book, but we've learned through Wild at Heart and through our work with men. We still, the majority of our work still is with men. And one of the things about the masculine soul is shaped through experience, and it is shaped through nature, through reality, through real created things. So, you know, you play golf, that's going to shape you. The frustration of getting that little ball to go where you want it to go, like that takes time and focus and attention. You play tennis, like it's not like playing tennis on Wii. Like, it's real. And that ball whacks you in the head. It hurts, man. And like, you know, you surf, you ride, you bike, you play an instrument, you work in the shop, you plant a garden. The masculine soul in particular is shaped through experiences with reality. And what's happened in our world, and I was describing that perfect storm, we are so digitized now. Most of our experience is so automated for us. My truck broke. I had this old Ford truck, and the transmission finally, I just got tired of repairing it. I was throwing thousands of dollars of repairs in this truck. And so I went out to get a new truck. Well, the amount of technology a new truck comes with, they're like, yeah, and these seats have air conditioning, you know, it's got the butt cooler in the seat. I'm like, I don't, my butt does not need air conditioning. Can I not have that option? But it is amazing. We have built a world of staggering convenience. I mean, you can buy a house from your phone. You can book flights anywhere in the world, or you used to be able to. Right? You can order any kind of food you want, have it delivered to your house. Like, the ease and the technology has brought into our lives. The comfort is not good for the masculine soul. It's not good for the human soul, but it's really not good for men. And so what I'm urging guys to do is get off the technology and do real things. And it's as simple as cooking. Like, that is the most immediate access. Guys go, well, I can't get to the woods. I can't get to the beach. Yeah, but you can stop getting takeout or stop having other people make your food for you. Like, the act of cooking, chopping actual garlic and onions, smelling them in a pan, that, you know, figuring out heat matters, you know, right? Spice matters, salt matters, and figuring that out. Learning music. Listening to music actually is very healing to the human brain. You know, simple things like taking a walk. You take a 20-minute walk versus watching 20 minutes of video online. That the difference is stunning. What it does for your body and your soul and your spirit. So I'm just urging everywhere that you can reorient. You begin to lessen how much your life is digital and comfort oriented, and open up the channels to engaging real things. Work in your garden, cut your own grass. Don't pay somebody to do that. Like, simple things like that are extraordinarily good for the soul, and what we're learning now about what technology is doing to the human brain, it's actually very healing to your brain, and it will increase your attention span, your ability to give things your focused attention.
John, in the book, you really talk a lot about beauty and what role that plays for us as individuals in our soul. Is there a particular type of beauty, or is there a place, anything that you had in mind when you were writing that?
Yeah, I love this. I love this because we are human beings need oxygen in order to live. You can't go a couple minutes without it. And so God saturated this world in oxygen, and then he gave it a renewable supply through the forests and the taiga and the plankton of the sea. It's phenomenal, like this renewable supply of oxygen, because we need it, right? And he did the same thing with the water and the rain cycle. We're the blue planet from outer space because we have so much water. Well, he did the same thing with beauty. God saturated the world with beauty because beauty heals the soul. I think he knew that life was going to be really brutal and traumatizing, disappointing, hard, frustrating, exasperating. And so, but most people don't take advantage of it. Like, we don't breathe it in. We don't drink it in like we do oxygen and water. And so, specific beauty, not really, because everybody's kind of got their
Sure.
own vibe on that. But what I want to point out is, again, you don't have to go, to Tahiti. You don't have to get to, Switzerland. If you can, wonderful. But your everyday world is absolutely saturated in beauty. It's the way the sunlight comes through the window in the morning. It's the color. It's the paint, the texture of frost on the window in your windshield. It's the sound of rain on the roof. The music that you play, the artwork that you put in your house, and especially nature. So get this, people in hospitals recover faster, need less pain medication, and they are released sooner if they simply have a window that looks out on nature. Like, that's how powerfully healing beauty is.
John, I know you've studied a lot of different faiths, and as a Christ follower, many times Christians get kind of a bad rap for meditation. Well, what is your take on meditation? What does it mean to you, and how can we practice that effectively?
Okay, guys, this is such a big thing because let me go to 30,000 feet for a minute. The war is for your attention. Your attention is the last marketable piece of real estate in the world.
Mm.
And everybody and everything is vying for your attention. And you've noticed, like, Google picks up your buying habits, right? And unless you've got the Google filters on, you get on a website and suddenly here are the ads that are perfectly designed to get your attention. We talked about your notifications on your phone. I mean, just the chirp of an incoming text, that the world, and then the news and the pandemic and what has Trump said and what's your county doing and has your governor eased the restrictions and all that. Like, the world is like a pack of ravenous lions, and the meat that they are after is your attention. So let me take us to Psalm 1 for a minute. So Psalm 1 describes two different types of human beings, two different types of human kind of existential experience. One group of people are described as trees that are planted on a riverbank whose roots go down into the water. And it says that they are evergreen, that no matter the season, their leaves never wither, and everything they do, they prosper. And then it contrasts that with people that are like chaff. They're so shallow, they're so lightweight, they're so dried out that the next puff of wind blows them away. And the difference between those two types of human experience is their attention. It says the trees planted by the river are able to give God their attention. And this is what it means to meditate. So in the scriptural understanding of meditation, I meditate on your word. is what Psalm 1 says. It is being able to give something your singular, lingering attention. And, back to the grandchild thing that I was discovering, I'm like, oh my gosh, my attention is I'm so distracted. I'm thinking about this and that and this and that and emailing this person, that project that's due and the trip, and so we're not able to be those trees. We're more and more dried out like the chaff. And then something like the pandemic comes along and it just takes people out completely because they're not rooted, they're not grounded in it. So I would describe meditation, biblical meditation, as the ability to give God our sustained attention. 5 minutes, 10 minutes. I mean, really, it's amazing how refreshing it is. And you'll be surprised how difficult it is because, again, what the world is doing to us.
John, we hear all the time guys from all over the world. We have a great mastermind group now, about 15 groups, 150 men all over the world. And this is without a question one of the things we hear all the time. Man, I just need some relief. But in the book, you talk about restoration. So what is the difference between relief and restoration?
Yeah, this is a real helpful category, guys, to just have. There's relief, and our reach for relief is the natural, instinctive things we do. It's relief is, you get home and you just turn the TV on. Relief is, I need that third glass of wine I probably shouldn't have. Relief is a bag of donuts. Relief is pornography. Relief is that instant I feel better thing. It's 3 hours binge watching Netflix. Restoration, though, is getting on your bike and taking a ride, going for a run. Restoration is what Aaron's talking about. I don't watch the news. I'm not watching the news right now. Restoration is beauty and nature. Restoration is, and here's the difference, because the problem with relief is this: after the bag of donuts, after 3 hours on Netflix, after whatever it is, you actually don't feel better. That when you're done, the relief is gone. It was momentary. But when you get out on your bike, you take a 30-minute ride or an hour, when you sit, by the lake that's in your local park, when you take a walk in the evening, you get done with that, you're better. Like you are a restored person. And Psalm 23, he restores my soul. That the reach is always for relief. The reach is for the instant, make me feel better. But we can think in the category of, no, what I really need is restoration. I need to be restored. And I would suggest you build things into your life. You build patterns that bring you restoration. So my daily walk, I rarely skip it. I need a daily walk, and it's either in the morning or the evening, and I don't care what the weather is. I need it. I need to get out. I need beauty in my life. I need music. I need the pause. It's amazing. Something as simple as the pause is very restoring. So relief versus restoration.
John, you have to practice some of these things, obviously, to write about it. But of all the practices that you discuss in your book, which do you think has made the biggest difference for your soul personally in your relationship or your walk with God?
It might just be the way I'm wired, Aaron. I don't think it's unique to me, but I will say without question, it's benevolent detachment. It's learning to let it go, truly let it go. I walk out of a meeting and I immediately am going, oh, I could have made that presentation better. I could have done that better. And that stuff just eats your day up. And learning to just go, Lord, I give that to you. I give everyone and everything to you. And as I said, in the evening, I give you my kids. I give you the world. I give you the pandemic. I give you the future, because it's the speculation about the future now that's going to have everybody spun up, like the uncertainty, like we can't carry that. Like Jesus said, do not worry about tomorrow. There's not a thing you can do about it. Uh, and and so I would say for me, benevolent detachment, and because of what it does, because then it opens up room in my mental life, it opens up room in my heart to then take in, relationship or play or a book I'm enjoying, or, just a meal, sitting and enjoying a meal. I'm not spun up in my meal thinking about the world still. Benevolent detachment allows you to get the Velcro of all of that off of you. And then it puts your soul in a space to enjoy your life again.
John, in 15 minutes, we're going to be off this call or less. A lot of these guys are going to go back to their old habits, and they heard you and they're like, yeah, that's good for John. He's had all this success and he doesn't really have to do what I do. He doesn't really know my space. What words of encouragement do you have for those that just feel like they can't slow down?
Guys, there is a life that you are trying to get to. And that life is actually available now if you will do one simple thing. Start with the 1 minute pause. Everybody's got 60 seconds. Like you just can't tell me you don't have 60 seconds. Like you do. You start with the 1 minute pause. And if I were you, I would download the app. It's free. It's on the App Store. It's called the 1 Minute Pause by Ransomed Heart. I download the app today. You get off the call and set your time. We do it a 60-second pause. Just try it. Just try the practice of it. And you're going to see that there is a rhythm to your day that you can actually fit into a very busy day. Because my days are nuts. And I know some people are really enjoying a bunch of downtime in this pandemic, but not people in the helping profession. My days are jam-packed. But there is a way to the life that you're trying to get to. And it starts with something as simple as 60 seconds.
John, we're going to do something that we've not done before on these interviews, and we've done hundreds of these interviews, and I feel kind of led to do this right now. I want you to sit there and relax for a couple of minutes. And guys, this is your opportunity to speak into John Eldredge and share with him something that's been meaningful to you as a result of his work. One of his books. Unmute yourself. Don't talk long-winded. Just give it 15 seconds. Introduce yourself, and let's breathe into John for a minute.
Hey, John, James Schaefer. Pilot background. One of the best books I think that you wrote was epic. It made me help me understand the place that I have in what God's order, and that there's a story that's going on around me that we can be a part of. I really appreciated that book.
Next.
Hey, John, Alan Oakley, the best thing, and there's so many, your Wild at Heart boot camp. I was there in 2004, met you. Yes, sir. You signed my book. And anyway, man, you are my hero. Our sons are about the same age. Thank you, John. And yes, I'm using the 1 minute pause. It is awesome.
Hey, John, my name's Gavin Walsh. I've been to 3 boot camps. The last one was probably 8 years ago. Got to hang out with you and Bart's son was there, and Craig was there, and it was amazing. Every time I get a chance, I grab like 4 or 5 guys, and we come out and get to hang out in Colorado, and thank you for that.
Oh, that's beautiful.
John, Jason Sanders here, Washington, D.C. area. It's a hectic area, busy life. I have a 3-year-old, and you talk a lot about nature. And I much appreciate that because it's not been my tradition. And I'm finding that I'm able to reflect on that, take my son out into it, several lakes nearby, and just enjoy his God's creation and just reflect on that. And it's been awesome in my life. Thank you for that.
It's beautiful. And it's doable, right? You're in D.C., but it's doable.
Hey, John. Doug Shreve in Indianapolis. I've read a lot of your stuff, but I think that the most meaningful is today. What you're doing presently with your smile on this call tells me that the Holy Spirit is doing some pumped up stuff in your life, and just keep rocking.
Thanks, man.
Hey, John, I just wanted to thank you for the captivating book. It really gave me a new perspective on my wife's heart. And helped me to see in a different view. So thank you so much.
Hey, John, David
Hey,
Oss.
John.
For about 10 years, I had men out on my deck. And quite often, I start the meeting with a couple of your CDs. But the moments that I share to break the ice are the stories, and I'm not sure who's telling them, of the guys that made the parasail behind the Jeep. And then the rocket that went off in the living room, and that moment where he says, "You kind of burned it up here, didn't you, Danny boy?" And we laugh so hard, but it ushers in this camaraderie for a great evening with men.
Awesome.
Hey, John, Josh Duncan, Wild at Heart was a very important book for me, so I appreciate that.
Hey, John, it's Steve Kinsley down in Mississippi. And when I was getting ready to move to Africa, Waking the Dead just spoke deeply to me about what we were trying to do in the church at that time.
John, Brian Menninger up here in Virginia, and I read Wild at Heart a long time ago, and the church tradition I grew up in,
John,
I never
Paul
felt
Grau.
gave me a permission to be a man, and Wild at Heart I felt like just set me free to be myself and to be okay. So thank you.
Wow.
John, Scotty Neal here in Hendersonville, Tennessee, just a stone's throw from where Aaron is standing right there right now. And for me, it was Wild at Heart also in a CLC leadership group. It really helped me connect the dots as a man. Thank you for that.
Hey, John, I had the privilege Paul Grau. I had the privilege of going through your book, Peterson Air Force Base, a long time ago, about 15 years ago, I think, and being stationed in Colorado at the time, in Colorado Springs, I got to experience that beauty, and it was awesome for the whole group. So thank you.
Beautiful.
Two more.
Hey,
We're going to
John,
let John get out of here. Two more.
Hey,
Don't miss
John,
his
Joel
chance.
Hawbaker.
Yep. Go ahead, Joel.
Hey, sorry. Yeah, back in high school, I read Wild at Heart. A friend of mine brought it to us, a group of friends, and he said, "I bet you can't read more, or you can't stop after the first chapter." And we started it, and he was absolutely right. It's probably the book I've read the most times over since then. So thank you for that.
John, this is Scott Beebe out in South Carolina, just outside of Hilton Head. And the one thing that I would love to see, and you may have already done this, but write a book on, I am amazed at how you seem to just walk and talk with Jesus as if he's standing and sitting right next to you. And that's the next kind of great thing that I want to learn. And I appreciate how you've modeled that. I don't know how to do it yet, but I appreciate how you've modeled that. And I will continue to listen and to read to see how you do that more often.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah.
John, how can we serve you well as a community? We have a great community here. These men are awesome. What is the number one thing that we could do to further your cause? What could we do to help you?
Spread the word. Like if you enjoyed Waking the Dead, if you enjoy Wild at Heart, like give a copy to somebody. I don't need to sell more books. I don't. But we need to rescue a lot more people. There's a lot of guys out there that need a rescue. That little book, Epic, that was mentioned here, just like spread the word. Thank you. Spread the word.
Two final questions. Do you have a favorite book yourself that you've written?
Oh, that's really hard. That's really hard.
That's because they're all so good.
Well, the answer is it tends to be the book I'm working on, right? Because it's the one I'm most in. Wild at Heart, come on. It was huge for all of us. I mean, it started with, in here with me. Wild at Heart, beautiful outlaw because of Jesus, because of knowing him, what he's really like. Yeah.
John, what's next for you? What's coming up? What's exciting that you're working on?
Well, what's interesting is we actually are doing a big relaunch of Wild at Heart and Captivating next year. New videos, new films. We've kind of refreshed the content of the books a little bit because there's a whole generation now that didn't grow up with those books. They didn't, Joel was talking about high school, and there's a lot of high school boys that need this message now. So we're gonna probably the push to go out and rescue a lot more men in a fresh way.
John, I want to say I was in the Eagles mastermind with Dave Ramsey for a couple of decades. We've been masterminding together, and we read books every single week. And I want you to know, I think we've circulated through every one of yours. It was always on the top of the list. And you know, Dave's a big fan of yours and the things that you're doing, and as well as those other guys in there. And that's where I was originally introduced to you. And your work is just amazing. I can speak for everybody here on this call. You're a one-of-a-kind guy. You just are. God is using you in an amazing way, and we pray His richest blessings over you. We pray a hedge of protection around you and your family, and we're just so excited that we've been able to share this time. This is a unique opportunity that we've been able to share with you, and we just want to thank you, man, for all you've done.
Yeah, thanks, Aaron. This was really delightful. Wish we could have gone a couple hours. Thank you.
Well, we can. It's you. But we're here for a couple hours.
Yeah.
Hey, let's give it up for John Eldredge. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John. Thanks, man.
You're awesome. We love
God
you,
bless.
John. Have a good one, buddy. Thanks for meeting
Thanks,
us.
guys.
All
Yeah,
right.
thank you.
All right, guys. Have a good rest of the day. We'll see you.